Morning, everyone, and welcome to the regular monthly meeting of the Holiday Island Suburban Improvement District Board of Commissioners. I would like to call this meeting to order. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Strott. Commissioner Stamps.
Here?
Commissioner Brown.
Here.
Commissioner Ralph.
Thanks, Rick.
And Commissioner Pinkley here.
I declare that we have a quorum. The agenda, I think we have a couple of amendments to the agenda.
For the price of a generator for well one that we need to go discuss and go over.
Okay. We'll add that. Any others? Randy, do you have one? An agenda?
Ask that if we're going to discuss the assistant chief's recommendation to be a full-time employee, that we adjourn into an executive session to discuss that.
All right, we have a motion for a special executive session. I've got a motion approved and second.
I talked with Rich, and we decided that we're gonna talk about that to the golf course people rather than to discuss it. It's not probably relative for this time.
Very good, thank
Yep,
you.
Okay.
Okay, but we have a motion for an executive session and a second. Oh,
We talked about this at the work session and resolved nothing, and I think now any further discussion about whether or not we make the assistant chief a salaried employee as opposed to an hourly employee needs to be done in an executive session.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we will do that. We will have an executive session. All right. Other than that, the other item on the agenda is to receive and approve the May financials. So do I have a motion that we approve?
I'll make
the
that
agenda?
motion. I printed this out at home and had a good chance to read it.
Do I have a second to approve the agenda? Any further discussion? Well, I'm going through here right now. Okay, we've got the agenda approved. How about the minutes for the May 20th? That was a work session. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ceremonial, do we have any? None here. Do we have any announcements?
Thursday, we had that pool party up there at the rec center. They had a good turnout. I think there was over 75 dishes that they prepared and made, and well over probably 80 people. And then Friday morning, like I told Doug, I drove around the golf course, the 18-hole golf course, and talked to several people. And they like the way the course looks and everything, and I agree that there's some bald spots that we need to take care of, and I talked to Tyler, and we're going to get on them. I think that's all I have.
Okay.
I was going to wait and do this under commissioner comments, but I just wanted, while the people are here, to thank the Firemen's Auxiliary and everybody who had anything to do with the meal and the whole day of the weekend over this past weekend. The meal was just amazing, and I think Carl and crew cooked for $250, and they ran out. And we had a number of firefighters, motorcyclists who came at Randy's request, and they really were well received there. But it was I've been here a number of years, and it's been one of the best. I don't know how the silent auction went, but I know a lot of money was made for the fire department, so I want to show my appreciation for all that.
Thank you. Public comment?
I wanted to thank Rich for coming and having the ribbon cutting at the nine-hole golf course for the Pollinator Festival and the Monarch Garden. The mayor had also gave a proclamation to support that, and we had over 75 people that came through from 11 to 2 or 10 to 2, and about 8 different exhibits. So and these are a lot of people that had never been to Holiday Island, but they saw the advertisement for the pollination, and they like the quiet, the butterflies, the bees. They felt that we've really improved our area by pushing that type of event. So I wanted to thank HICID for that.
Thank you. Okay, any other comments? Reports?
Well, as you see, we have the generator at well 1 during that storm decided to fall apart on us, blew the head off it, and so we got a price for it, which we can discuss, but I was talking to Doug about that, and it might, I put in a request for this FEMA account for it with Mike, and we might be able to turn this in on insurance too, so I'm gonna check in on that, see what we can do about that. Besides that, I mean, just keep on working on everything else we got going on with well 5 has kind of been put on the back burner because of everything else that's going on with UV protection and then the generator and everything else, but it's put back, not forgotten. So we'll continue working with that as we go.
Rich, I'd like to ask you a question. I know you said you sent this to FEMA, and I think we ought to, I honestly think it blew the head off that, and it probably was a power surge during that storm, so I think we probably ought to talk our insurance company and find out if there's any insurance company coverage on it, because I think that would fall under our insurance policy.
I think you're right. I will check into that.
All right.
After you brought that up, I was
Yep.
like, oh, yeah.
Okay.
Rich, is this the only bid we got?
Yeah, we went through Generac, and they never would get back to Dan on it. I mean, he emailed them, called and emailed, and they never would give him back an estimate.
Did you call the people in Bearville?
I don't know if Dan did or not. We can
Well-
check in.
They've got back to me
I know
every
he
time
went
I've
to-
called
I know
them.
he went to Generac and Cat, and Cat's the only one that gave him this. And
'Cause
Generac-
the salesman came out to my house then. And,
Okay. This is in Berryville?
yeah.
Well, my understanding with the cost of $75,000, we're required to get 3 bids.
I totally agree with that.
We're not when we use the state-approved Sourcewell.
Yes.
Sourcewell is a state-approved vendor.
I understand that, but
And
that's
but
no
it-
guarantee that they're the lowest price.
Agree. We need to get 3 bids.
I understand the state thing, and the same with the vehicles, and they're not always the best buy in town. They're a set price based on a manufacturer's retail price and a certain discount.
The other thing we run into here is getting bids.
Is what?
Getting bids, getting a response. So that's fine. If we can get someone else to bid on it and have a comparison, I'm all in favor of that.
Well, I'm sure there's other companies that'd like us to spend $75,000 with them.
Well, this is not your in-home generator. This is running a well. It's
What's it?
heavy duty.
It's 200 amp, 200 kWs
Yeah.
is what it says on this. And it's, Generac makes them. They make generators bigger than this.
Yeah, and they do, and they're all self-contained. We just gotta get them to give us a
Yeah.
bid.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's a big, and Dan's been trying to get a hold of them, and this has been going on since the
Because
storm.
I've got on my unit, I've got 60 solar panels up there, and it takes, it's rated for 400 kWs.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. If we were to go with this one, Rich, what is the delivery time on it?
2 weeks.
They have it in stock and they could do it within, I think they said within the month.
And shipping and installation is included in this
Yep,
price?
this is the whole thing,
Yes.
plus the service warrant or the service agreement.
6 to 8 weeks, it says.
Yep.
Well, we lowered the amount of money that district manager could spend, but this is way above it. That's why this is at this meeting.
Yep.
But if we don't have 3 bids, are we going to delay this, or do we have to have a special meeting, or what?
I think we delay it till we get the bids.
At least one other bid.
We need
Yeah.
to get more than, I think by law, I don't, other than it's a state approved, but that doesn't mean it's the lowest price by far.
And call the 2 vendors.
Yeah, well, I'll have Dan get on it, see if we can get, I mean, nothing else, or just have him drive over to Generac and say, give me a bid. Probably be a lot faster than all the time he spent phone calls and emailing.
Get a lot more done with phone calls than you do emails.
Yeah. And I'll have him check into a third too.
Okay. New business.
Are you finished? Do you have something else to talk about?
So what we're doing with this bid is we're gonna hold it until we get another price. Okay. All right, very good.
You can call an emergency meeting just to come in here and
Sure.
look over the free bids once we get them. That way we can get going.
We have a guest with us today, Ms. Jennifer Head. Hi, Jennifer, how are you? And welcome. Okay, new business, we're going to take a look at the May financials. And do that,
Yeah, Mr.
Go ahead.
Chairman, I had one comment. Jennifer, it's good to have you here. And I left my front page that you sent us home. I grabbed it and just left the building without it. But I really like the way when you send the financials to us, you have about 2 or 3 paragraphs on there that explain what your findings are as a CPA. And I don't have it in front of me, but as you present today or answer questions, could you sort of highlight that? There was one, I remember number 3, I believe it was 1.1 million, and it really helps us because I had a budget that's larger than the one we have here, but it was different. A SID budget is different than anything I've been familiar with. Could you go over a little bit if you have any concerns or if you think we should be watching something more carefully? I know you go through and there's minuses and pluses throughout each department. And I know Rich watches that very carefully and office staff, but could you just comment overall for us?
Let me do something here. Mr. Chairman, I move that we consider that we receive and approve the May financials.
Second.
we have a motion and a second to approve the May financial statements. Any further discussion?
Now you can
Pull the mic a little closer.
go. More voice.
Is there, Commissioner Brown, was there anything specific that you had questions on? I know the one main thing that I've talked about since the beginning of the year with both interim directors, and kind of sort of mentioned it to Rich, because I know he's just kind of getting in and getting his feet wet.
Right.
You know, the budget that was passed, huge deficit. I wasn't, how can I say this?
You didn't like it.
You didn't
Thank
stamp your
you.
approval on it. I know what you're
I
saying.
didn't feel like, because personally, I wouldn't have submitted it.
Yeah.
I felt like we should have continued, but, you know, the district manager at the time, I had to go with what I was told, how he gave me
Right.
the documents and, you know, how I had to put it in there, and, you know, he presented it to y'all at that time. But I've stated, it's a huge deficit budget. It should be revised. It really needs to be revised, because having a deficit budget, and we've already had one company look at that, if that continues and people come and you try to get bonds, insurance or things like that, what do? They look at your budget. Having a huge deficit budget like the one that y'all have could potentially hurt you in the future.
That's exactly what I wanted you to bring up.
Yes.
And particularly, Rich and I met, and Larson, interim district manager, and others who are familiar with a lot of things about lots and foreclosures, that's a big burden on us, the lots, the number of lots we have, whether we foreclose on them or don't, whether they go to the State Commission of Lands and so forth. But whenever at this table we've been told, we have plenty of money, we really don't. We really don't, do we?
No.
I mean, we have plenty of money to operate.
Well, if you look at it this way, if you continue with budgets that was presented for 2024,
Right.
no, you're not.
Okay, thank you.
I would add one thing, is that we removed well number 4 from the capital improvements portion of the budget. And that-
But here's the
we
thing,
need-
you don't
we
want to
could-
look at when they're looking at things, they're not looking at the capital budget.
Okay.
Or that, because that's like a separate budget.
Okay.
That's why it's separated in the budget. When you're looking at it, you've got your operating and maintenance, and it was a big deficit, and then you've got your, CIP, your equipment, whatever, and then that's a bigger deficit.
Right.
When
Okay.
people are looking at it, though, the CIP or whatever, those are just things that y'all have
That's the
said,
wish list.
that's kind of your wish list, that y'all are saying, yes, we know if there's fun, but if it gets into a budget year and something happens, like a major well goes, or something like that, those are things that y'all can say, no, we're not gonna do. That operating and maintenance budget, though, that's the things that y'all are saying, we will spend, because that's how we keep this operating. So you have to look at it that way. But,
Where is the O&M budget? What, is that in, we'll catch that later.
right, so on
You-
those budget
Give me a
documents.
lesson.
Right, on the budget documents, when you're looking at it, it's got like your revenue, your salaries, your expenses. That's your O&M budget. That's what you look at for your reserves and everything, and then you've got your CIP budget.
This one?
Yeah, so this is all encompassed, because
Okay.
that's gonna be, because when you put it in, that's the budget as a whole. But when you're looking at where you are, when people are looking at, where are we financially and things like that, you're looking at your operating maintenance, because that is what keeps this running,
Got it.
not your CIP, because
Got it.
those are more, like you said, wish lists, things that you might try to push in, you might not. Those are things that you can say, hey, yeah, we said, we might need this mower, but guess what? We're not where we need to be on our operating and maintenance, so your CIP over here, we're nixing it.
Okay.
So this cat generator, $74,000, is part of the operation budget, part of the capital.
It would be capital.
uh,
And you
capitalized.
and y'all actually have money set aside if you wanted to use that, if you look at on the cash analysis.
Yeah, capital, I meant capital.
Because remember, when y'all sold the tower,
Yep, yep,
and you had the auction, all of those funds, y'all had requested that they be put like on a separate line on the balance sheet,
Right.
shown as restricted for major projects, because at the time, y'all wanted to use those funds for the PRVs and some well maintenance and things like that.
Right.
So that money is still sitting there.
Okay.
So if y'all determined that y'all wanted to use those funds, that y'all had set aside, because it ended up not being as expensive, I don't believe, for the PRV replacement and
Right.
everything that y'all had originally thought.
Okay.
You could use that, and release those funds that you currently have, which is,
657.
is that, okay, yeah, I was looking for,
$657,100.93.
yes, so that's gonna be on your cash analysis under the restricted major projects.
gonna
That's
bring
where
that
that
up right
money is
now.
sitting.
Okay. I think Rich had a comment on it.
Well, also something I learned Friday, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but when you're looking at the year-to-date budget percentages
Right.
and how each department's doing percentage-wise, that is based off the $800,000 deficit. That's not based off of 0%, right?
Correct.
So we're already going in the wrong direction because we're running our percentages off the negative.
Yeah.
We should be running it off a balanced budget.
Right, and that's kind of what I tried to explain in my email. So where I said, after May, that's basically 41.65% of the year.
Right.
So when you looked at it, I don't have my email right in front of me, but I believe the revenue was at like 40%, which means you're basically right on track of what you've budgeted.
Right.
But there again, your expenses were, I believe, at 38%, which is right there at the 41. So y'all are, going right along with what you originally budgeted. You continue with that, you are going to be and meet that deficit of 800,000
Okay.
if something doesn't change.
Now, how would, if we were to have a special meeting in July, maybe a couple of them, we would have to go over, you would recommend we go over the entire budget, and there's certain things we can't cut because we have 57 employees. So they're
Right.
there, the burden is there, and so forth. Where, if anywhere, could we cut, or would you recommending when you're saying redo the budget, refinance it, what would we do?
We would just basically have to deep dive into each department, each line item, and see, what you budgeted, if there's anywhere where we can cut. And if not, but it'll get a better feel of where you are. I mean, to me, you need.
But we
to
just might have
revise-
to make some cuts, period. I mean, I just think we're gonna have to make some cuts to get back there. And
Well, I mean, you also need to look at your revenue streams too. And, is there any place where you're not picking up revenue that you need to, because this is the one thing that I haven't liked the past few years is we go into a budget and I have to do a budget based on the amenity fees and everything that are current because they don't get done. You don't look at the amenity fees and everything until after we've done a budget.
Yeah.
That is something that I would suggest you look at this year prior to us building the budget, is the amenity fees and everything. And if there's other fees that need to be looked at, to be added, increased or whatever, because, everybody hates increase, but unfortunately, look at the economy right now and the way that our supplies, the demand, everything is going up.
Good. Here, I have one more question, and that is, I was told the other night after a meeting not to mention the Sports Plaza or Recreation Center anymore, but if we were 300,000 over budget on that building, and that came out of 24 budget, some was out of 23, that had an effect on our budget, did it not?
Well, yes, because you cash funded it through the general fund. So any overages or whatever about what you said it would take to build this, any overages or whatever came out of your cash fund, your cash flow.
And that was our.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. I was under the impression we stopped all of these foreclosures and that we're going to file liens for the cost, for the $800 and some on these properties, or if they're not occupied, that $530, and that way we could let them go 5 years to the tax sale. We wouldn't be paying these guys that price to foreclose on all these lots, and then nobody would buy them because we're going to have 5 years worth of cost on them. Then therefore we can buy that lot. We can offer the state at the sales tax. We can offer them. We're holding a lien. We can offer them $10 more than that, and we can just forgive when we get the lot back. We can forgive that. And then we don't have to pay these lawyers $250,000 a year. And I think that's a smart move on our part. And that would save a lot of money. Would it not, Jennifer?
I don't think we spent $250,000. Talking about the foreclosures and things like that, probably need to get like Carrie or Regina to talk about that because I know if we don't, there's different consequences on, what can happen if we don't, or, and things like that, and,
But if we file liens on the property, which we're not doing now, the only lien on the property right now would be the state tax. We're not filing a lien on, HISIS is not filing a lien in paper. So if that property has a lien on it, in order to buy that property, you have to pay that lien. And that's a state law. So if you have to pay that lien, nobody's going to buy that property if you have $2,000 or $3,000 in those costs to HISIS before you can get the lot, plus the taxes. And then we know that Carroll County will forgive those taxes if we own the lot and haven't sold them. And we can forgive, at that point, we can forgive the cost of the $500 and some a year times 5, which is $2,500 per lot, and we aren't paying this attorney. Some of these lots have been 3 and 4 times that this guy has foreclosed on them, and we don't have any real dates of whenever he just out of the random forecloses. He could foreclose after 30 days if he wants, but some of these things are being foreclosed rapidly and some aren't. So I think we need to, so if we'd say, okay, we're not going to foreclose for 2 years, well, then people won't pay their taxes for 2 years. But I think if we just file liens and we don't foreclose and let them go for the tax sale and then buy them at the tax sale, the district buys them, we aren't going to owe any. We could maybe go $10 for a lot.
I think a lot of this discussion is going to we're going to have to get into whenever we redo the budget.
Right.
And we need to take a look at it at that point in time. As of right now, I think we need to proceed. I believe we had a motion to accept the financials from Phyllis, is that correct?
Yes.
And
And seconded by Ken.
just a minute, do we have a second? We have a
You
second?
had a second.
Okay, now we can discuss.
Jennifer, the other thing I was wondering about is the fire department. We've had a lot of expenses. There was a lot of equipment last year and this year, personnel costs and so forth. Does anything there jump out at you as a CPA that we need to be looking at? We love our fire department, but can we afford to continue to fund it the way we've been doing?
No,
No.
we
No.
can't. I can tell you that
Short
right now.
answer is no.
no. And that's probably, the one department that really needs to be looked at.
Big time.
There was some things put into it last year, that I felt didn't need to be. But, I mean, that's just my personal opinion. I think, it really needs to look at, and I understand the equipment was needed. I mean, it was needed, y'all did sell a truck, and everything, so you were able to, do that, and you did need the equipment. But you've got the equipment now.
Right.
You need to at least have the budget to maintain those vehicles, because you don't want them to get into a dire shape and be right back in this position. But I think there's some other line items in that, in the way that things are done, because that has a hefty budget for a rural department.
It certainly does.
Yes. And that's something that Rich can sit down with chief aides and really take a sharp pencil to. That's part of his job, is to manage,
He's come up with some things, and I know he's talked to you about them, and we would go forward as well, share about where we need to go, so I appreciate that comment.
Right, and I mean, if y'all would like for me to work with Rich and us do a revised budget and present to y'all, then I'm more than happy to do that. Because like I said, if this one's not revised, this is the one that is, this current budget's the one that's filed.
Yeah.
Going forward, when they need to see for anything, if y'all need bonds, if y'all need new insurance, anything, this is not going to look good.
No,
Thank you.
and
okay,
that's a good idea. You and Rich get together.
we have a motion and a
Sharpen
second,
another pencil.
and we've had discussion. can we take a vote on accepting the May financial statements? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Then the other item we have on here is, I think we're going to call an executive session, if we may. And so we're going to adjourn this meeting and go into executive session.